allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a couple things. First of all, I'd just like to mention a few people that we've lost this month. George Goodwin, Jean Oakley, and Mildred Mickey Petlek, all from Rosendale. And of course, just a moment of silence for those we've lost in 9/11, since tomorrow's 9/11 anniversary. Thank you. Ken's been excused tonight. He had to work. Bob, I don't know what's going on. I guess he's just running late, so he might be down at youth. I think he had to go deal with something down there. So we'll get started, and they can catch up when they get here. He can catch up. This guy's not going to be here. Couple of things. There will be no ZBA meeting this month, the 16th. So far this year, we've got, with the deposit bottles, we've got a total of $2,598.25. I think that's pretty impressive. And I'd like to say happy birthday to Chris for this Saturday. Happy birthday, Chris. That's what happens when your birthday falls on the week of one other item I just want to add, something was accidentally left off the agenda. We had it on last week's agenda to do it this week, so that was the refunding bond resolution. So I'd like to put that at the end of the meeting, so that would be item number 12. We already reviewed it, so everybody's pretty much aware of what we're doing. I just wanted to finalize it tonight. Do we have any petitions or public comments? Yes, Jack?
On the rail trail across from the kilns,
Yes.
I see we have a sign up there, it says rail trail and a sign of a person walking. Can we get the county, or can we put a crosswalk?
Yes, we can. We actually are already planning on doing that. I don't know if anybody remembers that we had a grant for paving, for striping.
Mm-hmm.
And we still have a little piece of that money for the grant left, and that's what we're gonna do with that. We're gonna stripe that. I have a meeting on Monday. We've been working on the connectivity plan, and I just run that by some of the counties involved in that. Just wanna run that by them, exactly, make sure we got the right place for it, because Local Valley Land Trust is also working on a grant for handicap parking and some work that they gotta do in that parking lot, so we just wanna make sure it's all coordinated before the striping.
One other thing, if we can bring up, if they can get the speed limit down to 45 or 40 like the rest of the road is. That's the only section that says no homes.
Right. Well,
But
we can
still,
ask.
we're gonna have people, if we can drop that speed limit, because it's 55 miles an hour and.
Easier to do with the county than state.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we'll talk
I
to them.
realize
Like I said, I have a meeting on Monday, and we'll talk about that at the time, as some of the people from transportation will be there too.
Gene,
Yeah.
can we maybe at the Monday meeting, just see if we can talk to Dennis about getting them to pay for it, so we can use that money?
It's already been asked a few times, and they've said no. I've already thought about that, because really Carl kind of worked through that with them, and they said, yeah, you can do it, no, we're not paying for it. So, doesn't hurt to ask him, but that's why we decided to take a little piece of that, the money from the grant, which we can, and that $350 or so is still for the planting, so you can still.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so
So
it's a
that was,
separate piece.
that was separate.
Okay,
That's
great.
why, I know we
That's
have
good
talked
to
about
know.
that.
The,
That's what you wanted to know.
Yeah.
the meeting with the county, is that a public meeting, or is that?
I don't really think it's a public meeting.
Do they have their own meeting to the public?
I'll have to check on that, Jack, because it's,
There's a couple of things I want to bring up, like.
it's not a county meeting. It's,
No,
the
but I'm
county is working with us on a grant,
Right.
so you know,
But do you know if the county does have their own meetings to the public?
well, they have their
Who was meeting?
county
It's
legislators.
so who is meeting is it's
Finding Rosendale.
Jean, the supervisor and I are both members of it, but it's called Finding Rosendale. That's what we named it in our last meeting, but it's a grant that the town, that the county got, for doing a Rosendale wayfinding and circulation plan. So it's a whole planning process, and this is just the first meeting of the committee
Yeah.
that is
It's-
made up of county and, town people and the highway superintendent.
It's
and-
actually through the Ulster County Transportation Council.
Yeah, and there's actually, it's a whole
There
process
was an
that's,
application I put in a couple of years ago, and everybody was told about it, that we got this grant through Ulster County Transportation Council to do a wayfinding study and be able to make a plan for, so we've gone through this process, so now we're starting to have the meetings to do this.
so, but there is gonna be, there are public meetings scheduled as part of the process. Public input is a big part of the process, and, I can't remember the first meeting.
Yeah, I don't know if we have the dates yet, but I think we're gonna have, I can't remember if it's 3 meetings, I think,
I
maybe.
think
for
there's
the
one in
public.
January-ish and one in
The reason I
April-ish.
brought it up is that there's some of the signs that have to do with the county road.
This is.
And I just wanted to know if it's some way that you could put the input in for us, or if I could go to one of their meetings,
It
because,
depends on what kind of county road signs you're talking about.
well, for instance, when you come down Cater Avenue, Churchill, and you stop at the stop sign, now all your county roads have arrows showing which way the county road goes. Big turns, big arrows, 5 or 6 of them, right? You get to the corner of James Street and Cater Avenue, and you got a double arrow. To me, it indicates that James Street is a county road. And I said to him before, I said, that should be a little line off to the side as a private road, instead of a double arrow. Now, you also have going up towards the transfer station. They repaved the road and all there, and the county road makes a sweep and turn. And if you're coming to make a left turn to go towards the dump, there should be some kind of a sign there. Right? Another spot that they have with the county is right down the road here. There's a county road, one is A, and county roads, I think it's 26 and 26A.
Yep.
It only shows one arrow going one way. That's where they could use a double arrow,
Well,
you know,
those,
so I don't know if these
those
things,
all can't be addressed in through this committee, but the
No,
one
but
on
that's what I'm
James,
asking.
the one on Peter Avenue, yes, because Peter Avenue and James Street is part of the plan. This is about connections through the rail trail,
Mhm.
park, Main Street, and,
32.
30.
All right, so I just
Down
wanna
by
know
Creek
because
Locks, so
I
it's,
had gone to the county itself, to the office, about the stop sign on St. Peter's coming up the hill, which you had to get the town to ask for it, but I went to them first and asked about having that stop sign put back. And they said, fine, if you get somebody from the, and Jan did that.
well, I would say, when, you know, if you have issues with signage, you could always discuss it with the county, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but if you wanna talk about how we're going forward with the plan, and how you wanna put some input in how signage and marks is on the road, that would be the first public meeting that we have, that would be what we're looking for from the public.
Right, that's like the perfect input for
Alright.
this
That's
meeting.
exactly what we're
That's
looking
exactly
for,
what it's on.
you know?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you'll know, we'll be advertising it and talking about when we're having those meetings.
All right.
And I don't know if they'll be here, if they'll be at the rec center, but we'll be doing some meetings.
They're going to, elicit input from the public and then develop a draft plan based on input from the public and the consultant. And a survey is going to go out as well, to the public, to get their input that way, so there's gonna be many opportunities to,
Oh, good, thank you.
Anybody else have any public comments or? I know we do have two community events. The Elderly Brothers are having another pool fundraiser. That's September 21st at 3 o'clock at the rec center. 1950s and 60s dancing, food and beverages, $15 a person. It's at 3 in the afternoon, Sundays. It's a Sunday. And the other thing is just to mention, we're still selling the bricks for the walkway to our pool, and this is the time to really start, I know few people bought bricks, but now we'd really like to see people start to, purchase the bricks, because we're gonna, if they're interested, because we're gonna be planning where they're going, and we have some ideas of where to put them.
And how much are they?
They're $100 each, and you can put a memorial on them, you can put your family name, you know, something,
Is there
put
a
your kids'
character limit?
names, whatever you like to do. What?
Is there a character limit that you know of?
There is. Tara has the applications for them, and it explains everything. And, but it's a nice way to donate to the pool, but it's also a nice thing to have, you know, you go down there and your family name is
In
on the
perpetuity.
path, you know, it's nice.
I have one other announcement. The Main Street Association is organizing Fourth Fridays for Rosendale. If you've seen, you know, there's First Friday I think it's in Kingston, right? Does Kingston have First Friday? And different communities have this, but it's a walk that, you know, studios are open, stores are open, they have events going on. And the first one is going to be the fourth Friday of this month. So if you're interested, come on down.
I just thought I'd better check and see if Bob left me a message. Okay, what else we do? So, I put one sheet in everybody's packet for page 5 of the minutes for August. The last month's was a little bit vague about what was being said at the public hearing. So, see if I can find that page now. So I asked Mandy to look it over, and she redid
She beefed it up?
She redid it so that it was exactly what he said.
Okay.
The wording that I kept reading it, and this sounds funny.
Didn't sound right.
Yeah.
That's why I asked her to check, because it sounded like it didn't have like right context. It didn't make sense, you know, the way we were reading it. So sometimes
Okay.
people say things that don't make sense, but we want to check. So,
All right, but it's,
but it was corrected. So it's on page 5, and it was the quote that Brian Cafferty made.
Okay, yeah, and I had requested a revision. Did you add that as well to
Was that the month before?
I think it was the same,
No, it
that
was
was
July.
the month of the hearing. So we
Yes.
haven't approved July's
No,
minutes. Should we do that?
We're gonna do both
Oh, okay.
as soon as we. So I'd like to make a motion.
Well, I want to
Good.
revision.
Okay, in August.
In August,
Uh-huh.
committee report,
Which one?
committee reports mine, it's line 4, reference to Environmental Commission, page 1. They also had a table at the Rosendale Street Fest. I may have neglected to report out, but they had the table at the Street Fest in order to distribute MS4 and Emerald Ash Borer brochures to the public, which was a very important reason why they were there. So,
Emerald Ash.
Emerald Ash Borer. We just say
You've got a
E&B.
notice
Yeah.
in the hallway.
Yeah. I see them.
Okay, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're adding that, the brochure, you also were handing out brochures for the Emerald Ash Borer.
And the MS4.
And the MS4. Yes, because that's part of our MS4 requirement is that we reach out to the public, so that was one of those options to do that. And we want to keep a record of that. Would you like me to do these separately? Make a motion to approve the July 9th minutes?
Could I want to make just the one amendment. We had Mandy re-listen to the recording so that we have more precise language of what
Okay.
Tim Allred said. But I just wanted, to have the minutes reflect that in Tim Allred's hearing statement, he said he was referred to renewage by former Councilman Green and would look into it. It's the constructed wetland.
Mandy, did you want to do that, or did you want to leave it as is?
They stay as is, but she's putting it on the record now.
Now,
So it's
okay.
not actually amending the minutes, she's just putting them on the record now.
Okay.
So it would be Tim Olberts was referred to group by Manager, called Renewage, and would look into it, is what you're saying.
Okay, I get it. So that's in tonight's minutes.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll approve the minutes for July 9th. Make a motion to approve them.
I'll second.
We have two people seconding.
We'll take turns.
Okay.
Roll vote, Councilwoman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Supervisor Walsh.
Yes. And I would like to make a motion to approve the August 13th, 2014 minutes as amended.
I would second that.
Roll vote, Councilwoman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Supervisor Walsh.
Yes. Let me do the financial report first, if you guys are okay. And then come back to the committee. In the general fund, $789,912.03. In the highway fund, $631,546.35. Capital highway, $13,861.33. In capital, $70,096.32. In rec sub, $24,588.16. Capital rec, $791.57. And light, $11,473. $11,473.73. Councilman Kozlowski, would you start with the committee reports?
For the assessor's office for August, no money is received. The assessor has submitted necessary documentation regarding the cyclical program that the town recently adopted. He presented a few months ago. He has inspected 47 properties. School tax bills have been mailed to all school districts. As a result of the STAR re-registration program, about 100 property owners had their STAR exemptions removed. That's it for assessors. For the Justice Court, Judge Pape's money received for August, $2,375, reportable money received. Justice Vosper, $3,640, reportable money received. No new news to report on the Environmental Commission. All projects are continuing.
Financial report. Okay, so the police department, this is from January through August. number of months. And monies received totaled $2,669.81. The transfer station took in $3,368.01. $308.50 of that goes to the pool and recycling collected. The planning and zoning took in nothing. And dog control took in $183.50. Planning board was a fairly active meeting. The Pinecrest tennis courts, which are going to be built off of 32 South, asked for a site plan amendment to put a removable bubble over it so that they can take it off in winter, take it off in summer, and some additional parking, 3 additional parking spaces. And public hearing was waived, and they're just waiting to hear back from the county. A group of young entrepreneurs came for a pre-app for a project they call Farm Stock, which is an organic farm using non-traditional techniques like aquaponics and vertical farming, and this would be for property on creek blocks. I thought it was a very exciting project, something that would be great to have in Rosendale. We don't have a lot of space for agriculture, so vertical is the way to go. But it was just a pre-app, but they're very excited about the project. Also, Central Hudson gave a presentation on their plan to upgrade the PM and K transmission lines from 69 volts to 115 volts. This is going to involve building a new substation next to the existing substation on their Sturgeon Pool property, as well as some new transmission lines crossing the Walk Hill. Most of the new transmission lines are actually on the Esopus side. There are some on the Rosendale side. This project was already approved by the Public Service Commission back in 1995. There were 6 substations to be built as part of that plan. They had not built this one because electricity demand didn't grow as much as they thought it would. I had requested that they send me load data from the 80s on, just so I could take a look at it. And from what I could see, load has continued to decline since 2006. So the situation hasn't changed. So, to me, the justification for building it is not so clear. I want to look into other possible reasons for it, for the upgrades. I mean, there are upgrades needed just because the system is incredibly old, but I think it's an important thing to look at. The cost of the project, they estimated to be about $10 million, and that's going to be reflected in the next rate case, next set of rates in 2016. So, the planning board meets tomorrow night, and they're going to prepare their comments for it, and I think they'll probably come to us, so maybe we'll be able to add to it in October. So I'll try to get some questions answered by then. And that's it. There's an alternate position open for the planning board, if anyone's interested in applying. That's it.
I apologize for being late. Councilman Hassett is not here tonight, so I'll be giving his report, and that's kind of what held me up. First off, with Councilman Hassett, he has the building department, and for the month of August, his totals for the month were $2,047. That's total fees collected, and that's for building. For the town clerk, the total disbursement was $5,099, and I think that's about it for him. And as he would say, everything is on file with the town. For the ZBA finance report, there was 0 for the month of August. We had no meeting, and it appears for the month of September, there's nothing on the agenda, so the meeting will be canceled for September. That takes care of that. Water and sewer. For the water and sewer, we had a total for water, $19,066.31. For sewer, $11,198.09, a grand total of $30,264.40. And that takes care of that. For the Rosendale Highway Department, total monies taken in were $1,020. And I had just received a call from the highway superintendent, and it was told to me to pass on to everyone, please, that the third week, starting September 29th, James Street will be closed. September 29th, milling of James Street will start, and October 6th, the paving will begin. Letters will be handed out to all residents of James Street, so if you use James Street that much, plan on having an alternate route.
Do you know if he's gonna, like, put up anything before you get to James Street, since we have,
Yes,
like, what, like a,
yes, there'll be a,
Car Press Road or something?
right, so it doesn't lock anybody in.
Okay.
And people will park out, will they just park their cars on sides?
Well, it'll be for
Go
local,
to-
local traffic
Oh, so it'll
residents.
be open
only.
on side.
Right, it'll be open on the side. I'm assuming, and I think discussing it with him, it wasn't totally clear, but down by that side street by the gas station, right there, it will be blocked off at that end.
Maybe
And then-
local traffic only or something
Only.
like that.
And then right after Mr. Snyder's house, so he gets the brunt of the traffic, we'll put another one.
I just heard today from, they won't be able to cut the road down as much as they thought because the manholes are too high.
Right,
We heard that too.
right.
They're able to adjust that.
It would be really expensive to try to replace the manholes.
Yeah.
Because they
You
don't.
virtually have to dig them up and reset them, and that would be a major undertaking, digging up the road, loosen up all the soil that's already impacted right there, and then it may cause other problems, because once you break all that good soil, it becomes virgin again, the manholes could drop, and it's the time of the year not to do that. Work to do.
Also, Terry explained to me that it's not like there's an extension on those, so you'd have to
Right.
redo them, they have to be recapped completely.
The only other way would be to cut them with a saw.
Yeah.
But then again, there's
Right, but then you'd have to re-weld a new upper lip so that you can place and
Yeah.
lock the manhole, so it's man hours and labor intensive.
Oh, yeah, it's
once
expensive
again.
one of the course.
Right. And you'd still have to dig around in order to do that plasma cut around, so, anyway,
Well, not
We're gonna
uneven
be-
street, it's gonna be quite the paving job.
well, I'm sure he'll do.
It's a wide street too.
Main Lane has been paved,
Okay.
Main Lane has been paved.
On to the Rosendale Youth Commission. For the month of July, we had a grand total of 1,252 visits, but remember that also included the campers for that month. That was July. The month of August, the attendance was 893 children, and that also included campers. I'm happy to report that this St. Pauli clothing shed is just doing exceptionally well. $180.77 for the month of July, $193.55 for the month of August, so that's been really a wonderful thing. And I drive by there and I keep an eye on it. If anybody sees that it's cluttered or not well kept, let me know so we can pass it on, but every time I've gone by, they seem to do a real good job of keeping it neat and orderly and not an eyesight at all. Back to the highway. No, I didn't do the highway department. Bear with me. For the highway department, total monies were $120. Also, I wanted to mention that Bob wanted me to pass on that salt for the upcoming season for sanding and salting. The salt, the cost of it has gone up 27%. So it's a large amount. So obviously, you know, that affects his budget, and he's gonna have to pay attention very closely on sanding and salting the roads and to make it last. So, and with everything he has done this year, next year is gonna be a little bit lean on road repair and stuff like that. So he also wanted me to pass that on because he
Well,
hit it.
half the budget's gonna go to the James Street General.
Right, and it was hot and heavy Tilson Road, which was a large, long area that was in such dire need of repair that a lot of time and obviously
We
money
also
went
did
towards that.
Whiteport and Street Brush.
Right.
And a lot of other necessary patching.
Right, and he has been on, lately he has been milling and doing really nice patchwork on Preens Bridge Road, and also Orchard Street across on the opposite side of the highway, which is Mary U Avenue. He's been doing that.
Hickory Bush Road, too.
In Hickory Bush Road. So, I think that covers it.
Okay,
Once
Thank
again, I
you.
apologize, I'm late.
that's all right, we'll forgive you. Okay, I got a couple of appointments and resignation. Motion to reappoint Nick Gantner to the Assessment Board of Review.
I'll second that happily. Want to recognize that he will be entering his 44th year of volunteer service to the town of Rosendale.
It's amazing.
Roll call, Councilman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes,
Supervisor Walsh.
Yes. And another motion to accept the resignation of Sherry Doherty from the Rec Commission. Someone else, I don't know how many years she's put in, but she's put in quite a number of years. She's been our chairwoman for the Recreation Department. She's put in a lot of hard work, and we do definitely appreciate all the time she's put into the town of Rosendale. So I accept her resignation with regret.
I second with regret.
Roll call, Councilman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
yes, and thank you for all the years of service.
Supervisor Walsh.
Yes, thank you. The site plan for the Shawangunk Ridge Trail Run hike is complete. I'd like to make a motion to accept it. Just so everyone knows, that's a September 19th through the 21st. They'll be on the rail trail, they'll be using our parking lot, so, we had this on our agenda last month, and we have our insurance policy from them, so I think we're ready to go.
I'll second.
Roll call, Councilman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes,
Supervisor Walsh.
Yes. The other site plan we had on last week's agenda has been pulled. Grand Fund has been pulled.
Okay.
They've canceled. So next on the agenda is a discussion and review of the Pilgrim pipeline. I'm gonna let Jen speak on that. She's done some preliminary review and study on pipeline project, and I'm sure many of you have received requests. Anyone along the pipeline has received notices for request to survey. The town actually received one also for the highway department. And we're going to invite someone to come from there next month, hopefully they'll show up to discuss it. And in the meantime, Jen's gonna bring us up to date with what she's found out.
Okay. Just in brief to describe the proposed project. The Pilgrim Pipeline Company, it's a company that was created for this to do this project. And it's proposing to build a bi-directional pipeline that's going to span 178 miles, and it will transport crude oil and refined petroleum products like gas and heating oil between Albany, New York, and Linden, New Jersey. Albany is a central hub for receiving crude oil by rail from, this is a map, you can see of New York, and most of it comes from North Dakota, from the Bakken Shale region of North Dakota, and the rest of it comes from Canada. And it comes to Albany and is transported by barge and by rail down, and then it crosses over to New Jersey where it's refined. This is a Phillips, the destination is a Phillips 66 refinery in Linden. This proposed pipeline would more or less run parallel to the New York State Thruway, connecting to 2 terminals along the way, and there's something it's connected to which is not clear. The map that we received is and that you received if you're a property owner, is not very informative. It's not at a scale where you can really see what's going on. But it's going to come down the thruway and then head east on 287, along 287 to New Jersey, Linden, New Jersey. The pipeline is going to cut right through Rosendale, as well as a number of other towns in Ulster County, the ones that the thruway runs through, as well as Orange County, Greene County, and Albany County. So now it's not clear how much of this pipeline is going to be in the thruway right-of-way and how much is going to be outside of the thruway. We don't have that
As of
information.
today, I was told that it is inside the right of way, but we need to confirm that.
Yeah, Jean had a conversation with them today, and, they'll come, and we're going to ask for more detailed maps so we can see. Because the map we had, at least in the original plan, it was clear it veered off in places within Rosendale. And the letter that people got said that the purpose of the surveys were to determine the center line of the pipeline, as well as to do archaeological and wetland surveys. So, if they're trying now to stay in the thruway right-of-way, that's a modification, but we'll have to see.
Did they specify how they're crossing the creeks and the rivers?
So it's going to be under.
They're going under the
Probably,
water?
yeah, or, we don't know, we don't have the details, but
That's
they
all
have
right.
to cross, they have to cross the Wallkill, they have to cross the Rondout, they have to
Yeah.
cross a number of creeks and wetlands and,
I think we have to be really clear that we don't know all the details, and
Yeah, right,
that's,
that's
we're,
what I
we're
was
starting the process of trying to find out as much as we can about this and what they're proposing,
right,
and that's why we're talking about it, but
Okay.
we really really want everybody to understand that we're still investigating it, so we don't have all the facts yet.
Now the letters were really written in such a way, to residents to make it appear that they really don't have a lot of choice in letting them survey the property, but we want to be clear that we did check with the town attorney, and I also had it confirmed when I spoke with someone at the Thruway Authority that you have a choice as to whether you allow them access to your property. So, it is your choice and your right to exercise it the way you'd like. This project, as the supervisor said, is in very preliminary stages. They haven't submitted permit applications, so there's not a lot of information available. I did do a bit of research on it. I personally have a great deal of concern about the proposed project. And I'll just mention a few things that I've found. The pipeline will be carrying crude oil from the Bakken Shale region. And the Federal Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration recently issued a safety warning about the particular flammability of Bakken crude oil. The reason has to do both with the geology of the Bakken Shale region and also how it's extracted. It's extracted by hydrofracking. And so there's a lot of gas that's still trapped in the crude oil, and that's why it's so volatile. As you probably read in the papers, there's been a string of accidents carrying back in crude oil by rail. The biggest accident, was in Quebec, a small town in Quebec, where 43 people were killed, and it leveled like half the buildings in the town. It was a major ordeal. In the company's literature, it claims that the pipelines are safer and more environmentally sound than rail and barge. But from what I have found, this is not entirely accurate. Based on data collected by the federal government, crude oil pipelines have spilled more per ton mile than trains, but have killed fewer people. So it's sort of a pick your poison kind of thing. But the figures that are collected for crude oil pipelines are for all crude oil pipelines, and there's no data specifically on pipelines that carry back-in crude oil. Most of the back-in crude oil that is produced is transported by rail, not pipelines, so there's not really much data on moving back-in crude oil through pipelines specifically. And this will be the first crude oil pipeline in New York, if it goes through. Some data on pipeline spills generally. Pipeline operators have reported to the federal government 1,880 crude oil spills nationwide between 2003 and 2013, or about one incident every other day, resulting in about 44 million gallons of crude oil spilled, 26 fatalities and 56 injuries. Total property damage was estimated to be $2.5 billion. Most spills are caused by equipment failure, corrosion, or incorrect operation. There have been some really big spills, like there was one spill that ended up covering 35 miles of the Kalamazoo River. And then there are very small spills. But according to the US EPA, just 1 pint of crude oil released into the water can spread and cover an acre of surface water and can seriously damage the aquatic habitat. So large or small, they are not good news. In Rosendale, again, we don't have any specifics about the actual project, but if you follow the thruway, it would have to go pass through the Rosendale Creek, Walpole River, streams, wetlands, as well as areas with sensitive aquifers that residents depend on for drinking water. With karst aquifer and 2 sand and gravel aquifer, for instance. And it poses not just safety and health concerns, but could negatively impact property values and future economic development along that path. We did ask our attorney about whether the town code banning natural gas and petroleum extraction would extend to the pipeline, and it was her opinion that it does. It specifically covers the transfer of gas and oil. It will be a different matter if it falls within the state thruway right of way, because that is state land, and our town law only applies to lands within the town land. But the town could still express its opposition in a memorial resolution if we chose to do so. And I learned from speaking at length with a staff member at the New York Thruway Authority that the state DOT accommodation plan does not provide for longitudinal use of the right-of-way except for communication technologies. So they would have to get an exception to that, to the DOT plan. And apparently there have been several requests by transportation corporations with similar ideas to use the thruway right-of-way for this kind of thing. So, they're going to have to consider it. We're drafted a resolution, but we're tinkering with it, and we also want to give, the company the opportunity to speak. So we're going to hold off on that for a bit.
We also want to just make sure all our facts are exactly what we need them to.
Yeah.
The problem is that, Jen's done a great job of, doing research, but we have no application from these people for anything, so it's hard to, draft a resolution that's specifying what they're doing when you don't have any documents that say what they're doing, so, that's why we wanna just make sure that we have a little bit more feedback from either any kind of paperwork we can find on it, or from them directly. So that's why we just wanted to bring this up to your attention and talk about the fact that we're working on it and that, these are our concerns and we wanna start to address them. Because I know some residents have been calling me and asking me about it, and I don't wanna give you the wrong information, so that's why we're looking into this and we're trying to figure it out. But I think it's good that we already have, two legal opinions that, put us in the right path. We did already do the fracking law, which, we didn't have any clue that this would come about, that it, would protect us in this, in this way, but it's nice that it's already in place. So, I don't know what else you want to talk about the Public Service Commission's,
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, just the regulatory framework, there's, is that what you mean? There's, it's, well, as one person said, we have kind of a weak regulatory framework for this kind of thing in New York State. There's no, the Public Service Commission only has jurisdiction over, only has decision-making authority over natural gas pipelines, not over crude oil pipelines in New York State. It's a really major distinction, and there's no agency at the federal level that is in charge of decision-making over the construction and operation of crude oil pipelines construction. There is the agency I mentioned earlier, regulates safety. But the FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, only has jurisdiction over the rates charged for moving crude oil through pipelines. So, it's like, where does it go? The DEC is going to have, it's going to fall under SECR, the State Environmental Quality Review Act. So the DEC will have jurisdiction, and under the Clean Water Act, the Army Corps of Engineers will have some jurisdiction because of federal wetlands. And the state DOT, I already mentioned, has an important role to play. And then, of course, the Thruway Authority has to decide whether it wants to grant use of its right-of-way in this way. It is possible that the environmental review will be done, since it's two states, New Jersey and New York. The company might try to do a review under NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act, which would be a federal level review, but the state and local, governments will still be able to contribute to that process.
The question, the gasoline that goes into Jersey comes from Texas. Is that not a pipeline? Am I misunderstanding that?
Gas gets here by barge. But and there are gas pipelines too, but not oil. This is crude oil.
Well,
Well, I thought it was a crude oil
possibly,
pipeline.
Gas you're
yeah,
talking about.
they will, according to them, once the crude oil, they will, once they get it to one location, they'll also go back the other way. Some days
No,
they
the reason
may.
I asked was that you said the government doesn't have any jurisdictions or rules, but I thought Jersey has underground.
That's state though.
That's not our state, though.
No, but it's gotta be it's the United States, it's gotta be
Right,
under the
but they're-
government.
Well, often, in some state, it often falls to state level, agencies, and New York State just doesn't have one in place. I don't know what they have in New Jersey. They
No,
might-
I'm just saying,
Right.
if the federal government would have some kind of authority over that, no?
No, and crude oil pipelines, the State Department is involved in the, Keystone XL and is involved in these other major crude oil pipelines because they cross borders, international borders. So they have authority over that, but this is purely domestic, and this is the first pipeline like
Right,
this. The pipeline infrastructure for crude oil and for backing crude is really in the middle of the country. And it comes to us by rail. and barge, you know.
And they're gonna say that the reason that they're doing this is so they don't have to, you know, put everybody's concerned about the rail right now, you
Right.
know, so it's, you know, that's one of the concerns.
But interestingly, they don't, in an article they posted on their website that was in like the Pipeline Journal, they said that their project will, you know, reduce reliance on barge traffic. But they didn't say anything about trains. Won't have any impact on moving crude by rail to Albany and at all.
Except, that's what that you read, right?
No, but that's the case, because the pipeline only goes, so it's not gonna have any impact on the crude oil being transported this way by rail or this way by rail.
Right.
And they simply did not mention at all the fact that crude oil is also transported by rail, as we know, right, you know, down to New York Harbor. So, by both rail and barge.
But they told me whether I don't know if this is true or not, but they told me part of the reason you're doing this is so you don't have to have rail travel and barge travel for the fuel. So, what, you know, we don't know.
You know, no matter how they do it, whether underneath the bridges, underground, I mean, I have to agree with Councilor Metzger. This is a large concern. I mean, I know for a fact, like, I know it's not our township, but the thruway that crosses the Walk Hill, that is all slate underneath there, rock, it's not soil. Then on top of that, you have a historical site of the covered bridge, and there's how many left, and that's in close proximity of the thruway bridge. So passing it through there, plus all the wetlands, through our creeks in our towns, I mean, you talk about open up possibly a can of worms to infect our environment. No matter how they travel that pipe, whether it be overhead or underground, I have to agree with you. I have a major concern with that.
I don't think anybody would look at it with that having a major concern. A serious issue.
Yeah.
Sure is.
The problem, like, you know, I think that we have is really understanding what their real plan is without any paperwork, and that's my concern. I want to be sure that we're giving the public the correct information, and that we just do our due diligence to find out what's really going on.
Yeah. On the positive side, though, the fact we're in a much better position to make our voices heard now or soon, rather than after the permit process has started. And because once that ball is rolling, it's very hard to really get communities' voices heard. But you know, the fact that they have the DOT has to decide whether to make an exception for this. It's good for communities to weigh in now before they make that decision, so they know what our concerns are.
Well, thank you for paying attention and doing something before something happens. Appreciate it.
So we're gonna table this for now, and we'll,
Could I ask a question? What's the timeline for when that would go through and it would be paid?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
What is the timeline, do we think,
We have no idea.
For the project,
for when the permit would be?
We don't know.
there's no,
Like
No
6
clue.
months, a year?
it's information, no
No
information.
idea.
Why,
And the
that's
Thruway
why,
Authority didn't know, you know, they.
that's why we're gonna ask somebody to come here. We can ask those questions
Mhm.
Okay.
and see if we can get the answers. If, you know, if they can't give us the answers, we'll just keep watching and listening and seeing what's going on. But, yes,
Quick question, Jen, you keep referencing Backen, can you spell that for me?
BAKKEN,
Who cares?
yeah, it's in North Dakota.
Point of interest on, I call it Renee's place, but the transfer station, next month, the rates are going up.
you're way ahead of me here, Jeff.
That's on the agenda.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
I was informed today, that's why I didn't.
I'll get to it, okay?
Were you raising a ruckus? Were you one of the
Yeah,
ones?
In fact, I want to say Renee was up there today I know how much she's gotten from the cans that she's got. Standing there with one of these hand grip machines,
Yeah.
somebody dumped about 50 cans of recyclable cans, and she was in there pulling every one of them
As
out.
long as she's not in there.
Yeah, no, I know, because she's had
And they're
something.
paying for it,
Yeah,
you know, so that, we'll get to that discussion.
Yeah, but it's on the list, we're gonna get to it. All right, next on the list is a resolution. Help me out here, Mandy. We're in 3. 9/2014-3, renewal of customer service and maintenance agreement. Wait a minute, that's not the right one.
Right. I'm doing
We're on
procurement, right?
Procurement. I'm in the wrong order, I gotta yell at Jill. Yeah, hold on.
Oh, you know what, it was on the right side.
It was in last month.
Yeah, but she knows I can. There it is.
Last week,
Last week, I was just thinking about that.
Last week.
let the minutes reflect.
Town of Rosendale Procurement Policy, whereas 104B of the General Municipal Law requires every town to adopt internal policies and procedures governing all procurement of goods and services not subject to the bidding requirements of GML 103 or any other law. And whereas comments have been solicited from those officers of the town involved with procurement, and whereas the town board of the town of Rosendale has reviewed and revised their current procurement policy, now therefore be it resolved, the town of Rosendale does hereby adopt the updated procurement policy and procedures. Anybody want a second?
I second that. Emotion.
Roll vote, Councilwoman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Casali,
Yes,
Councilman Ryan,
Yes,
Supervisor Walsh.
Yes.
So we're making that a local law.
Yes.
Okay, so it's one.
No, it's not a local law. Oh, yeah, it is, yes.
Right,
Oh, that's
because
one.
of the,
We double checked, right, that we had no other things passed this year.
Yeah, no, we haven't.
so,
It's a resolution to,
so it's
so
resolution
could I
3.
just say,
what local law was.
point out in this procurement policy, that this was like a much needed and overdue, review. It's supposed to be done annually, right? And it hasn't been done in
I
some
think it was
time.
93 or
Yeah.
something like that.
But it now contains what's called a best value provision, which is really great and will allow us to make purchases that are based not just on the lowest cost, but also on efficiency and quality. So we can make purchases that are more energy efficient and environmentally sustainable, and those pay off over the longer run. You know, I was thinking it might be good, maybe, for you to, consult with, Supervisor Warren. Maybe they haven't updated their procurement policy, because we'll be, if we do any joint purchasing.
Right.
maybe
The
then-
things I have to purchase through the grant or through Rosendale, so that, you know, but once they move in, yeah, it's something we should be looking at. Because, right now, if I purchase it, I can, you know, the law allows for me to make the purchase and then charge them back for their share, so
Right.
that's,
So, actually, I wanted to just mention one more thing. I had, you know, I brought up the green purchasing policy, and I understand, that the environmental commission is like completely overworked with other projects. And I would say that I'm happy to volunteer to develop an initial draft for, the board, for the commission to review, if that's acceptable to them.
I would like to hear the environmental commission's, opinion on it.
Yeah, yeah, you would have to
I'll
get
take
there.
it to them.
Yeah, if
I
they,
think they've already started some work on it.
Yeah,
And I think they're
they
looking at what the
gathered-
county, what the county's doing.
They got from the county and they got from the Rondout Valley School District, they got 2
Yeah.
model,
So let's see where they're at, and then, you know, if those are 2 models they already have, and, you know, and get some feedback from you, Chris. Okay, next is, this is 4 then, right? Resolution 9/2014-4, Copier service agreement with Hudson Valley Office Equipment, whereas the town of Rosendale finds it necessary from time to time to obtain outside assistance for technical support in its copier needs, and whereas the town of Rosendale finds that by signing an annual support agreement with Hudson Valley office equipment can fulfill those needs, and whereas Hudson Valley Office Equipment at 13 Binnewater Boulevard, Hudson, New York, 12534-2318 has submitted an agreement for a copy of Justice Court in the amount of $399, effective August 9, 2014 to August 9, 2015, which is attached here to in part hereof. Now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Rosendale authorize the supervisor sign said agreement on behalf of the town of Rosendale.
I'll second that.
Roll vote, Councilwoman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor Walsh.
Yes. And last week we talked about, writing a letter to DOT regarding the, passing lane on Birmingham Lane. There's a copy of the letter here, copy of, a letter from, a resident that was concerned about, the term is also in here, if you guys look at, but as we discussed, I'd like to do a resolution and then I'll send that letter out. 9/2014/5. Resolution contacted New York State DOT regarding passing lane on Route 32, whereas State Route 32 in the town of Rosendale is marked with some passing zones, and whereas request has come in to change a passing zone on Route 32 in the area of Birmingham Lane to a no passing zone due to the risk of accidents with left-hand turns are made onto Birmingham Lane from the northbound lane of Route 32. And whereas the town of Rosendale Highway Department and the town of Rosendale Police Department both agree that this is a dangerous passing zone area, now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Rosendale hereby authorizes the supervisor to send a letter to New York State DOT requesting this passing zone be eliminated and replaced with double yellow lines.
And I'll second that also. I also like to make a note that people may have forgot, but an individual that was killed there that lived in that side street from just this issue, so I think it's important, very important.
That point,
Yes.
I know what you're talking about, the spot, and it is dangerous, and we did lose a member of our township there. But at the same time, if you go down the rest of the highway, and you've got passing lanes, and somebody wants to go into their driveway, you've got the same situation. It's almost to a point where you can't have any passing. Because if you go from the cat and dog place, and you come up that road, you've got passing lanes. When somebody wants to go in the cat and dog place, they've got a passing lane. They're gonna make a left turn when you can go 55 miles an hour to pass somebody who's going slower. So every one of those houses is in the same jeopardy as that intersection you're talking about.
Where are you at? I'm sorry.
Any place on Route 32, there's a passing lane. All right, if there's a house there and I live there and I'm coming down the road and I'm gonna make a left turn to go into my house, and you're 3 cars behind and you come out to pass somebody, you're gonna hit me as I'm making a left turn to go in my driveway, because you have a right to have a passing lane. You follow what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's almost to a point where you eliminate all passing lanes. It's just a part, you know, you have to be very careful when you do it, the person that's making a left turn, you know, and I guess, you know,
Well, we'll take a look at it, Jack.
yeah, no, I mean, I know what you're talking about, the
We
spot
can't
you're
make a
talking
change
about.
for every driveway, but we can definitely look at the roads,
I
you know.
mean, yeah, in this case, it's a town road, it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I know, yeah, there was an incident there, and there is, but, and there is 2 or 3 houses there, so you do have 2 or 3 people always going every day, maybe 5 or 6 cars. But every house that's on that road, and even going up past Filson, every house that's got on a passing lane,
Yeah.
you've got the same situation.
We'll vote. Go ahead.
You were gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say, sure, speed limit would help a lot too. But, go ahead.
Councilwoman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor Walsh.
Yes. Renewal of customer service and maintenance agreement for telephone service system at 520 Lefevre Falls Road, Justice and Police Offices. As you know, we still have to keep this up. I've got it on, still got it quarterly so that we can do the transition, but police is gonna be moving very soon. there for court, because they're not ready to go yet. So, renewal of customer service and maintenance agreement for telephone system at 520 Lefevre Falls Road, Justice and Police Offices. Whereas up-to-date communications technology is essential for smooth and efficient operation. And whereas the town board of the town of Rosendale contracts with Crosspoint Solutions for telephone and communication services. Whereas Crosspoint Solutions has submitted a quarterly contract for September 1st, 2014 through November 30th, 2014 for renewal of service and maintenance in the amount of $144 for the phone system at Justice Court Police Facility. Said contract is attached here to the Copier. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Rosendale hereby approves the aforementioned service contract.
I'll second. After you.
You, sir.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Councilwoman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor Walsh,
It's resolution 6.
Yes.
Need to say?
You might have always just double check.
Yep, that was 6.
I think I forgot. 6.
resolution is the number that we're on the agenda.
Yep.
Following along.
I was confirming.
Resolution 9/2014-7. Application for swim team cost reimbursement for a 2014 program year. Whereas the town of Rosendale has been supporting and paying salaries for the coaching staff of the Rosendale Rapid Swim Team. Whereas the county of Ulster offers the opportunity to receive reimbursement for this, which the town of Rosendale is eligible for. And whereas the town of Rosendale will be applying for reimbursement in the amount of $1,100, now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Rosendale hereby authorizes the supervisor to enter an agreement with Ulster County, which has been attached and made a part hereof.
I'll second.
Roll call, Councilwoman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor Walsh.
Yes. And we're gonna use our procurement policy. Our first one.
Better to
time.
use. Break it in.
Resolution number 8, and just so you guys know, because I didn't, what we have here is, Carl solicited quotes from 3 contractors to look at, building the bench for the judges. You all know we received a $20,000 grant for the, refurbishing of the court. We've been using our own, employees to do the contracting for the walls and some of the changes that we had to make to doorways and things like that. And, but the bench was something that we really needed, someone that had the tools to do, woodworking. So we've gotten 3 quotes, and, New Phase Construction was the lowest bid. Lowest, contract, we had 12,900.
And on that one, they weren't able to start until February.
Yeah,
Right.
I know. That's why best practices and some of these other things help with the new policy. 10,870, and I believe this one was
9,850.
So if everybody's okay with that, I'd like to do a resolution to hire them to go ahead with this project. And we'll be pretty close to being able to move the court in once that's done. Resolution to hire contractor to build judge's bench, whereas the town of Rosendale is in need of a contractor to build judge's bench at the new court located at Town Hall, 1915 Lucas Avenue, Copier, New York, 124.
I'm sorry, it says bench and wheelchair ramp, is it both?
Yeah, it's all part of it. It's a little bit, it's a judge's bench. There's a ramp to, law says you have to have it wheelchair accessible.
Okay.
And then you have a clerk space, a witness stand,
It's all-
it's everything.
It's not a
Okay.
$9,000 bench.
Yeah, it's a little bit,
This is a
this
bench,
is-
clerk
this
space,
is up to the
witness
specs
stand.
that-
Lined with jewels.
in the past, you could get away with something,
Right.
put a couple tables together, but you can't do that anymore. You have to, so You know, if you're
Okay.
gonna put something new in, you have to have I have it spec'd according, and we did help Alfondre, design it, who was the,
Mhm.
architect that Marbletown got the grant for, so this is part of what they did for us, so.
Can we get
Yes.
reclining chairs for the jury?
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Whereas the town of Rosendale is I said that already, didn't I?
Yeah.
Whereas the town of Rosendale has obtained 3 quotes for the project from New Phase Construction, 17 Jolene Avenue, Rosendale, New York, 12472, DSW Contracting, 47 Woodland Ridge Road, Cohasset, JH Construction, 1137 Route 32, which have been attached and made a far throughout. And whereas after comparing pricing, quality, and availability and service, a decision was made to hire New Phase Construction of 17 Jolene Avenue, Rosendale, New York, 12472. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Rosendale authorize supervisor to hire New Phase Construction for this project.
I'll second.
Roll vote, Councilwoman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor Walsh.
Yes. And this is the resolution that we were handed, by Bill Blankenship,
Mhm.
right? To do, as you'll see, the agreement you got last week is still the same. They're asking us to do the resolution, authorizing, me to go forward once the finalized information that describes the project is in here. It's not typically the way we do it, but since we're dealing with the state, they wanna see this resolution, I recommend we do it. It could hold up our money, and I don't really
Okay.
wanna do that. If everybody's okay with that, I talked it over with Mary Lou, and her and I will still, send it around to everybody to look at, and I'll make sure that she is comfortable with how the contract is drafted.
This for New York Rising?
Yes. You only have this part in your packet, because last week we gave you the other half of it. So this is resolution 9/2014-9. Authorizing town of Rosendale to enter into the required sub-recipient agreement with the Housing Trust Fund Corporation as required in implementation of the New York State Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program, and to authorize the town of Rosendale to sign any and all documents required in the implementation of the program. Oh boy.
Do you want us to each read this section?
No, it's okay.
No, let her do it.
Whereas in the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy, the United States Congress, through public law, passed the Disaster Relief Appropriations Act of 2013, Public Law 113-2, approved January 29, 2013, as amended. The act appropriating $16 billion, later reduced to $15.8 billion to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery. Funds for necessary expenses related to disaster relief, long-term recovery, restoration of infrastructure and housing and economic revitalization in the most impacted and distressed areas resulting from a major disaster declared due to Superstorm Sandy and other eligible events, including Hurricane Irene, Tropical Storm Lee, calendar years 2011, 2012, and 2013. The storm, subject to the federal statutes and regulations governing CDBG grants as modified with exceptions and waivers previously granted, which may hereafter be granted by HUD, and whereas pursuant to GDBG DR grant program federal registration notice, published March 5th, 2013, titled Allocations, Common Applications, and Alternative Requirements for Grantees Receiving Community Developed Block Grant. Disaster recovery funds in response to Hurricane Sandy as amended. The state has received an allocation of CDBG DR funds from HUD in the amount of $1,713,960,000. And whereas pursuant to the GDBG DR grant program federal registered notice, entitled Second Allocation Waiver and Alternative Requirements for Grantees Receiving Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds in response to Hurricane Sandy as amended, the state has received a second allocation of CDBG DR funds from HUD in the amount of $2,097 million. And whereas HUD requires the state to spend 80% of all CDBG DR funds so allocated within the counties of Nassau, Rockland, Suffolk, Westchester, Bronx, Kings, New York, Queens, and Richmond, and whereas in accordance with HUD directive, the town of Rosendale has been notified of its ability to participate in New York State Community Block Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery, and whereas the implementation of the CDBG DR Recovery Program requires the execution of the subrecipient agreement between the town of Rosendale and the Housing Trust Fund Corporation, which will be substantially similar to the subrecipient agreement template attached here to made a part hereof. Now therefore be resolved that the town of Rosendale, the town board of the town of Rosendale, Authorize Supervisor, enter into the required subrecipient agreement with the Housing Trust Fund Corporation to secure the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds, and to sign any and all documents required in the administration of the New York CDBG DR Recovery Program.
A second.
Roll call, Councilman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor Walsh? Yes.
Still think that's gonna cost more than $600,000.
Probably, it might, we'll have to play it by ear as we go. Depends, might have to depend on how much of our journey of
resolution?
the project goes. It was, 9. And the next one is Resolution 9, 2014, 10, set a public hearing for the Town of Rosendale Economic Overlay Zone. Whereas the Town of Rosendale recognizes the need to promote the active utilization and reinvestment of vacant and underutilized properties, and whereas the Town of Rosendale wishes to amend Chapter 75 of the Code of the Town of Rosendale, foster economic development, diversification of land uses, and employment generation through the reuse and redevelopment of underutilized property and tracts of land. And whereas the town is required to hold a public hearing to amend Chapter 75 of the Code of the Town of Rosendale entitled zoning to add Section 28.2 providing for the economic overlay district. And whereas pursuant to general municipal law, the Town of Rosendale is required to request recommendation of the Ulster County Planning Board, and whereas municipal law requires the Town of Rosendale to send notification to all adjoining towns and any affiliated necessary agencies, and whereas the Town of Rosendale would also like to have the Rosendale Planning Board review this document. Now therefore be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Rosendale hereby schedules a public hearing on October 1st, 2014 at 7 p.m. at the Rondell Municipal Center, 1915 Lucas Avenue, Copier, New York, 12419. And be further resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Rosendale directs the town clerk to submit this document to the Ulster County Planning Board for review, to the Rosendale Planning Board for review, to all adjoining towns and any affiliated necessary agencies. Be it further resolved that a copy of the proposed local law shall be made available by the town clerk during business hours. And be further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Rosendale directs the town clerk to legally advertise same.
I'll second that.
roll call, Councilman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor Walsh?
Yes.
Just like, to request, if this keeps happening by accident, but the documents are put up with the agenda and aren't staying up for public hearing, so just make sure that we get this posted for the
Yep.
month.
You mean on the website?
Yeah, on the
Okay.
website.
Okay.
Yeah, for some reason when you take something down,
The
it
whole, all the
all-
documents come
everything
down
comes
too.
down.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. It's probably the way the agenda stuff is, but she'll have to put it on the public hearing stuff anyway, so.
So I'll move it to the public hearing side
Yep.
of the
I'll remind her.
site.
Can you make sure, Mandy, that she double checks that when she does it? And then,
You want to let Jack read this resolution?
Well, I'll read the resolution, then we'll let Jack talk. Number 9, 2014, 11, resolution amending the fee schedule for the transfer station. Whereas the Town of Rosendale has proposed amending the fee schedule for the Town of Rosendale Transfer Station, copy of which is annexed here too and made a part hereof. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Rosendale recognized the need to amend the fee schedule to address the increased expenses of tipping fees and other associated fees. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Rosendale adopts a proposed fee schedule to be effective October 1st, 2014. Before we vote, you want to discuss it?
Yeah, I'll second.
In a second.
So the increase is coming from the county, right, just so everyone knows.
Not the county. Ulster
Well,
County.
Ulster County Resource Recovery Agency, sorry to clarify,
Yeah.
the
They're,
resource,
they're,
UCR.
they're a, authority.
Authority,
They're not
right.
a part of the county.
That's
But,
right.
you know, there's been a proposal for a new contract, which includes, 1.2 million, I believe is the number of increase, to purchase, new bins, and they're proposing some huge rate, increases in, the rentals of the bins and the pull fees, and so everything's going up. We can expect a $15,000 to $20,000 a year increase.
And the county give them an okay because everybody who goes bowling has to go through them.
Yeah.
We have to use their bids.
Well, let me just clarify this. There's a committee that's being, formed by the supervisors. Several supervisors are on it, and a couple of the transfer station coordinators are on it. And I think maybe one or two legislators are also, meeting to try to negotiate and look at and address some options that might be more palatable to the towns. And, we've met with, RA, at least 4 times to discuss this and to express our concerns, which are many. You know, we've talked about a lot of the reasons that we object to these increases, but we still need to be prepared, and those increases, if they do happen, we have to be prepared to raise our rates. And, already I just asked Renee to look at our fees compared to other towns, and really what she's doing is bring them up to something that's more comparable to what everybody else is charging. So, you know, this is probably time to do this anyway, so we said, let's do this now. We are scheduled to come to an agreement with RRA by June of 2015, so we have to really start looking at this now to get ready for that.
I had talked to them about the possibility of Rosendale getting their own trucks and their own dumpsters, and also with the sewer department, because we have to pay to have our extra sewage tracked out. I said, we had our own tractors and our own dumpsters, and we put somebody in town to work.
I don't know that it'd be any cheaper.
You still have to go to,
We'd
the
still
USS.
have to we'd have to purchase
Yeah.
6 containers, okay? Then we'd have to pull them, you know, all week long, we'd be pulling,
Yeah, I know, I
okay?
realize that.
So, you know,
Insurance and
the investment in equipment for us might even be more than what, you know, we need, that would be a huge expense that we don't have the money for, so,
I think either the town of Ulster or the town of, I think it's Ulster, right, is looking into doing that, so we can see what happens.
Well, you know what, maybe we ought to see if we could do shared services with them since.
well, we have been talking about, you know, how the towns can work together. But I will say, you know, one thing with New Paltz and Ulster, they're right next door to the, you know, makes a difference in the cost too, you know, having everything nearby, but, you know, I don't know what the answer is. We've made arguments, that, you know, they get the, recycling from us, they make money on that. I'm concerned about the increased rates, you know, being a service to the community that, we want it to be more, economical for people to go to the transfer station than it is for them to get pickup. That's one of the incentives. And I'm concerned about the incentive to recycle. So if you don't go to the transfer station, you have pickup, that's a single source recycling, and single stream recycling, and you don't have as many people really recycling, because true recycling should be multi-stream. So those are some concerns that I think all of the towns are expressing right now. They're all concerned. And I don't want to say what we're looking at, because, you know, ideas are just being thrown out there to explore and to try to figure out, and we're really at the beginning stages trying to figure that out.
This does raise another concern. In our township, we have people that don't have the money or whatever, and I can take you to areas where people are dumping. I take for 2 farm properties. and I'm trying to catch these people all the time. Central Hudson, the power line, if I took you down here in a four-wheeler, you wouldn't believe what I have to show you. My sons, thank God, I mean, people were throwing boats away with engines in them, riding lawnmowers discarded. When Meadow was up, I told my boys it served two purposes. You'll get some money in your pocket and you'll clean that area, and they did. You wouldn't believe what they hauled out. They also hauled a lot of tires. People can't get rid of tires. I took the tires, I brought them up to the brother-in-laws to dispose of them. But I guess what I'm just getting at, it's like having the pool closed. You force kids to go places where they're not supposed to be to go swimming. Well, when the prices even go up higher, it forces, unfortunately, realistically, people dispose of their stuff and they say, I don't want to pay for it, and they think of other ways, and that's all.
And you're right, and we are concerned about that, but I still think that these rates are not a huge increase to, you know, it's not a lot to swallow right now.
As I look at it, the full residential permit hasn't been increased.
We
right?
didn't
It's-
increase the permit, we only increased the dollar amount per bag. And
so-
Renee and I are talking about whether we should get a scale and start looking at weight, but I don't wanna make that purchase or that commitment
Sure.
until we know what our contract is gonna be with
But the-
RRA, you
The
know?
price per bag increase is not
It's
more
not
than
very much. It's
$2
really-
at
Right,
most.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, a kitchen trash bag went from $1 to $2, so, you
Right.
know, it's not a huge increase.
May
And
encourage
it,
people
yes.
to recycle.
yeah, so maybe people will say, you know what, I'll take
Yeah.
those
Still
bottles
cheaper
and throw them
than
in the
Yeah.
recycling bin
Curbside.
instead of in the garbage, you know, that's what you hope people will do. If they're gonna, and if
Right.
we end up going by weight, people will be, you know, there are some transfer stations that have, you have to take their bags,
Mhm.
so they can see clear bags, they can see what's in them, and then they don't accept it unless you recycle, or you don't throw away things like, you know, sheet rock or something in your bags, because that's a higher rate. And the one thing I did ask her to do is, you know, increase the cost of construction debris and, you know, furniture and things like that, which make more sense to ask. It's not an everyday expense, and when people need to do it, and businesses, you know, have to absorb that in their cost of running business, so.
And you're saying
Yeah.
that Ulster, possibly it could be a $15,000 a year increase?
No, Town of Rosendale,
Town of
not
Rosendale.
Ulster.
Rosendale
No, but-
50.
Rosendale alone, our increase is
It's gonna be-
Could be charged.
$15,000,
Right.
$15,000 to $20,000.
It's gonna be different for each town depending on their,
Right.
And
It's
I
not how
said-
much garbage you have.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, maybe I know what I was thinking and I
Yeah.
worded the wrong way. So obviously, if that does go into effect, these will have to be increased
They
even
might
more.
have, and we have to see,
Right.
but right now, I think, you know, I wanna operate in the black a little bit, you know, so.
Are we
yeah,
locked
people,
into that?
the,
Yes,
yeah.
they have, they
So
have,
it's, we don't have a
they
choice?
have flow control and, you know,
Yeah.
everything is.
It would,
That's one of the problems, that's why I said, we got our own vehicles and our own dumpsters. You know, we wouldn't pay right away, but maybe later on, we could be a little independent, and we wouldn't have to pay somebody who's
We
got
still have to
us
pay
backed
them.
into a corner.
We still have to pay them anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I know, because they've got it
When
right
you
there,
think
you have
about
to go to
it,
them
if
to
they're
dump.
buying new roll-offs, we're gonna pay $85 a month for every roll-off. What we'd have to look at is, what does it cost to buy a roll-off?
We buy the old ones that they're getting rid of.
right, patch them.
I already told them that, I said, I'll take the old ones.
Take the old ones.
I mean, believe
Yeah.
it, you know, when you get all the supervisors in the room, believe me, every idea that you possibly think of has been,
Coming up.
come up.
You know, I just wanna make a plug, there is Renee, as somebody was just mentioning earlier when they were was it you at the transfer station? You know,
Jack,
Oh, right, people throw recycling away, they're paying to throw it away, and then we're paying Renee to take it out. So, you know, if people just really get more conscientious about really recycling, and I'm also going to call UCRA about getting brochures for the compost, for home composting for the transfer station, because you know, it's hard in places, in a couple of communities in town where you have really no backyard and no woods, but in most places you can. And, you know, I have like 3 growing boys that eat all the time, and, you know, we have hardly any garbage because of compost and
They eat
recycling.
I know, I got two,
Because
but
they
they
eat
eat the
it, right.
garbage.
Yeah.
Right, there are no
Throw away.
leftovers, but right, exactly, but it really does, you can really reduce your solid waste to really very little, you know.
Didn't I just hear that they're gonna put that garbage incinerator power plant in Poughkeepsie back online? Did I just read that?
I don't know, I know we've been talking about if there was a local place, but problem is the incinerators cost so much money that if you think these rates are high, you know, they'll be triple that, you know, there's just no way we can afford it.
No, but if you're selling it to them,
No, that's not how it works.
that's not how it works. It seems like.
One day, biomass, that's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna make
That would-
energy
That
from
would be the
taking care
best,
of our
but,
trash.
but, you know,
How are our lights?
I said to them, I said, that would be a nice option, but, you know, I have to get them to start it. And the other problem is, we don't have, I'm sure all of you've heard this before, but we transport our garbage quite, you know, very far away, and a lot of the money that gets spent is for fuel, and it's, you know,
It's ridiculous how
It's
far.
very, very
Saratoga,
expensive.
right?
Rochester.
Seneca
that
Meadows.
area, yeah.
Seneca Meadows.
Yeah, you know.
I know cause I, from meeting now in other towns, I know the town of Warson charges $60 for residential permit.
Yeah, I think ours is still pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it is, a lot of people, it's very similar, a lot of the rates, but they are very, very expensive out there.
Well, and I think you'll see that some of the towns are charging a little bit more than we are, but, you know, I had Renee do a comparison. She came up with numbers that we thought would be fair, and, still, the thing that I always say is, remember, if we don't raise the rates, we raise the taxes, so you're gonna have to pay one way or another. To me, it makes more sense to charge for who's using it. I'd rather see the fees go up. Obviously, some of the costs are spread across the tax base, but you gotta come up with a way to, balance the budget, and this is one way we have to do it, so. All right, ready for the vote?
Yep.
Full vote, Councilwoman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Kozlowski,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor Wolf.
Yes.
So this is effective,
October 1st.
just so I can,
And I think you should post something on the bulletin board, just so people know.
and when people come in, I'll give them the
Yeah.
handouts.
Yep. And she's starting to hand that out, that's why Jack knew about it, right? Give people a little warning ahead of time. Just so you guys know, I've asked along with their budgets, I've asked all the departments that collect fees to look at your fees, are they reasonable, are they, have they been raised in 20 years or not, and so all of them are coming back to me with their budget and some proposal for whether fees should go up or not, so.
I thought we guys were gonna put a manhole on the crude oil pipeline, and we'll throw it in here and send it to New Jersey.
New cracks in the garage.
Okay, so, I took yours,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry.
why I-
9/2014, 12. And I am not reading all of this. I'm just gonna read the title of it, and you guys are gonna, you'll see it already anyway. Refunding bond resolution dated September 10th, 2014. The resolution authorizing the issuance pursuant to section 90 of the local finance law refunding bonds of the town of Rosendale, Orange County, New York, to be designated substantially public improvement refunding bonds and providing for other matters in relation thereto and the payment of the bonds to be refunded thereby. Whereas town,
The short version is it's gonna save us
can I do
money.
these three? Can I do
Right.
these three and then just do, is that the part I gotta read? 'Cause
Section 14 is important.
why do I have two of them here?
That's just all the paperwork that I have to send and which one goes.
Yeah, but
where.
which part is the part that is the resolution and which part is what you have to send back to?
The resolution is usually the first part. The second part, the referendum, is what I have to send into
See, this one doesn't say the same thing as this one does. I think last week I read that, right?
Just pointing out, that section 14 does state that a summary of this resolution, which takes effect immediately, shall be published in the official newspaper of said town.
Right, well, she's gotta publish that resolution to do this.
Hopefully this is my last time for a long time.
We've been a little tired of these.
It's easier to publish it than read it.
That's true.
Is this the one I read the whole thing last week?
No, that was
No, I
the-
read part of it.
I read part of it.
the 3-minute one.
Okay, whereas the town of Rosendale, Ulster County, New York, hereafter the town heretofore issued serial bonds in 2004 to refund of bonds, and whereas it would be in the public interest to refund all or portion of the outstanding $855,000 principal balance of the refunded bonds maturing in 2015, and thereafter by the issuance of refunded bonds pursuant to section 90 of the local finance law, and whereas such refunding will only be undertaken if it results in present value savings in debt service. Now therefore be resolved by the town of Rosendale, town board of the town of Rosendale, Ulster County, New York, as follows. I said I didn't have to read it all, but it's really hard to figure out what part is part of this. Okay.
Again, the bottom line is it's gonna save us money.
Yes,
Start from section 11.
I didn't just read the last paragraph.
What about starting section 11?
copy the complete text of the release. That's what you get.
Section 11.
Well, how about if I just, well, the one thing it says that's being delegated to do this, so that's one thing you have to say. For specific object or purpose of refunding outstanding principal balance of the refunded bonds is more fully set forth in refunding finance plan, including providing monies together with interest earned from investments or proceeds of the refunding bonds herein authorized shall be sufficient to pay the principal amount of the refunded bonds. I think that's all pretty simple. Refunding bond may be subject to redemption prior to maturity upon such terms that the supervisor shall prescribe, which terms shall be in compliance with the requirements of section 53 of the local finance law. Supervisor hereby further delegate all powers of this town board with respect to the sale and issuance of said refunding bonds, including agreements for credit enhancement derived from and pursuant to section 160 of the local finance law for said refunding bonds, including but not limited to the determination of the provider of such credit enhancement facility or facilities, and the term and contents of any agreement or agreements related hereto. It's hereby determined that the maximum amount of the refunding bonds authorized issued pursuant to the resolution does not exceed the limitation imposed by section 90 of the local finance law. Maximum period of probable useful permitted by law at the time of the issuance of refunded bonds for each of the objects or purposes for which such refunded bonds were issued is shown in Exhibit A1 to the complete copy of the resolution, which is not published herewith as part of this summary. The last and sole of the refunding bonds will mature not later than the expiration of the period of probable usefulness of each of the objects or purposes for which said respective refunded bonds were issued. The estimated present value of the total debt service savings anticipated result in issuance of the refunding bond with regard to funding refunded bonds is $67,046.04. The financial plan of the refunding authored by this resolution showing the sources, amounts of all monies required to accomplish such refunding, estimated present value of the total debt service savings, basis for the computation of the aforesaid estimated present value of total debt service savings are set forth in Exhibit A to the complete resolution. Refunding financial plans will be prepared based upon the assumption that refunding bonds will be issued to refund all the refunded bonds in the amount of $885,000. The refunded bonds will mature by such terms. The interest is set forth in Exhibit A to the complete resolution. Supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to enter into escrow contractor contracts with the bank or trust company with the bank or trust company located and authorized to business state, and said president shall designate for the purpose of having escrow holder act in connection with funding bonds as escrow holder. Supervisor and all other officers, employees, and agents of the town are hereby authorized and directed for and on behalf of the town to execute and deliver all certificates and other documents, perform all acts and do all things required or contemplated to be executed, performed, or done by this resolutionary document or agreement approved hereby. All other matters pertaining to the terms and issuance of the refunding bond shall be determined by the supervisor, and all powers in connection thereof are hereby delegated to the supervisor. The refunding bonds are authorized to be sold to Rosendale and Cross Incorporated private sale. Validity of refunding bonds may be contested only if such obligations are authorized for an object or purpose for which said town is not authorized to expend money, or the provision of law which should be complied with at the date of publication of this resolution are not substantially complied with. An action suit or proceeding contesting with validity is commenced within 20 days of the date of such publication, or such obligations are authorized in violation of the provisions of the Constitution. A copy of the complete text of this resolution, together with all exhibits, is on file in the office of the town clerk, or is available for the public inspection during normal business hours.
I'll second.
Roll vote, Councilwoman Metzger,
Yes.
Councilman Sopsky,
Yes.
Councilman Ryan,
Yes.
Supervisor Wall.
Yes. And that's it for tonight. Can you believe it?
That's so early. Obviously Ken slows us down.
We haven't heard the motion to adjourn.
Okay.
And we're not adjourning yet because we have bills to pay.
There you go.
Huh? Like to make a motion to order the bills?
No executive session.
No executive session tonight.
That's what I
A
said.
question from the public.
Yes, Jeff.
Two curiosity questions.
Huh?
Two curiosity questions. What happens to the police station and the courthouse?
The police station section is going to become the highway office, and the other side is gonna become a public
Yeah,
use
thank
space
you.
for
But what happens if you
parties,
save it
for
for town?
meetings, and that kind of thing.
Because I thought there was something about it went back to the original owner.
Only if, no, what happened is, the deed is restrictive in that it would have to go back to the original owners if we wanted to get rid of it.
Right,
But nobody could ever buy it because it has no water.
yeah,
So the water comes from the highway garage property.
right.
So if we emptied it out, it would be a vacant building because no one would be able to use it. So it makes more sense for us to, use it, the best way I think we could use it is to share it between public use and the highway.
Having been in the highway
Yeah, and I think,
office.
I
it's a
wanted
great
to get
solution.
them out of there,
Right.
but we were gonna move them here. But it makes more sense if they can be close to where they are and
Right.
still have a safer place to be in, because it's not a very healthy place for them to have their office. the way it is now.
My other question is, what do we know about our neighbors being able to move in?
I don't know yet. We have some opinions, legal opinions that are being worked on right now, and we'll know shortly. Marlton and I are conversing on some legal issues right now.
Okay.
They may be able to we're working to get permission for them to move everything except for court and their town board meetings, if possible. If we can get the opinion that we can do that, they will keep their building open for meetings and for court. They'll start moving in here, and then when Senate goes back into, Assembly and Senate, whether the Senate goes back into session this year, it would be voted on at that time, or we'd have to start all over again in January and go back to the Assembly and the Senate, so.
Okay.